Hey Flosstube, Ashley here, Boogie Stitcher on YouTube, Schleesm_Boogie Stitcher on Instagram, coming to you guys with another weekly regular update. We have lots of new starts, we have lots of stitching to get through. Hopefully this doesn't take like an hour. Yeah, hopefully it's like a somewhat medium vibe video. So let's go ahead and just get started. I have no idea what the prompts were last time I did a video. Wait. Yes, they were. They were a sal? Nope, I don't remember. I don't remember the prompts. We're not gonna do prompts. We're just gonna show you guys what I stitched on. Lots of stitching. Let's start with one of the biggest stitching projects that I have stitched on, and that is the Pokemon starter Pokemon. Oh boy. This is going to be a really long video. Let's start over. Hi. Let's show you the starter Pokemon stamped kit project that I have worked on the last few weeks. I have tried really hard to get lots of progress on this because this is one that I want to have completed by the end of the year. Okay, much better. We'll just slow down. Sometimes I think faster than I can talk. Okay. So this one has Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur. Squirtle and Charmander are done, and I'm currently working on Bulbasaur. And I'm actually going to take him out of the hoop because I've done a lot since you guys last saw him. And I want you guys to be able to get the full effect. So this one is Bulbasaur section is about really close to halfway done, actually, I think. Okay, so Charmander, Squirtle, and this is what I've done of Bulbasaur. So I believe last time we spoke, I had just completed right up to here and I was trying to connect the two. Well, I went further than that and then did this whole side down here, which is awesome because he looks amazing and even better on camera. I love seeing them on camera because I get to see more. So his bulb looks awesome. I have completed his back foot, most of his front foot. I just have a couple little stitches to see his toes. And I'm so excited that I can see his little toes in the back too. That's like one of my favorite parts about Bulbasaur is his little feet. I don't know why, but so here, yeah, I've done a ton the last couple of weeks on this one. I've just been trying to stitch it anytime I get a chance. Again, this is what I ended up stitching. I stitched and connected from here all the way to here. Some of his bulb was already stitched, so this part right here I think was already stitched. Then I stitched this section right here and then started stitching his leg, his back foot, and part of the ground right here. So right now I am working on finishing this bottom section right here, and then I'm going to come back up since I've completed halfway and work my way all the way down again to complete down here. So this is definitely doable for this year's finish. I just have to kind of keep up with it. So yeah, this is looking so good. I love Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur is one of my favorite Pokemon. So next up we have a new start. So this, let's see. Okay, Tombstone Needlebook, Jeez Louise, by Siren Stitchworks. So here is the pattern. Now there's a front and a back and a middle frame to stitch because this is a needle book, but I have changed it, so I don't want it to be a needle book. I won't use a needle book. So what I decided to do is I decided to make it like a doorbell hanger, and so I'm stitching it. I've changed the pattern to be vertical instead of horizontal. So because you stitch it horizontal, and then when you fold the book, it's a book. You have a front and a back. So I had to switch it to be like this. Also, there's I think it's monochromatic. It's only one color that they've picked, but my daughter really likes this pattern, and so I was like, okay, hun, you can kit it up. So you kit it up and I'll stitch it however you want me to stitch it. So she surprised me by saying she wants dark fabric, almost black, with rainbow thread. And I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be intense, but it's actually turning out really good. So these are all of the colors that she picked out for this project. She picked everything: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. And she also helped me pick the colors to dye the fabric as well. This is stitched on 28 count linen, and I believe I'm stitching over 2. Yeah, so 2 strands over 2. So here is where it's gotten to so far. Again, this is hand dyed myself. I didn't want to go full on black. I did use black dye, but I didn't leave it on very long because it's really hard to stitch on black. It's also very hard to stitch over 2 and on linen, and that's like way too many hard things for me. So, but when I showed this to her, she said it looked exactly how she pictured it. So yeah, I also changed the border. So in the border, this side is different from this side, and I did not like that. So I actually changed the 2 sides of the border to match, and then moved the moon up 1 stitch to have it be matching horizontally with the sun. So I did that as well. You're not really going to be able to tell if you're not sitting there staring at the pattern, but I love it. It is looking so good. I love all the little rainbow colors that she picked, and she's also of course wants this in her room when it's done. So, and it shouldn't take too long. There's not too many stitches in it. So yeah, I just have to change it vertically, and then also like change a little bit of the border because of course then there's no border like right here, so I gotta add something. But yeah, here it is so far. Pretty good start for that one. Normally when I start things, it's got like 100 stitches on it, and then I move on because I get distracted or busy, or like a prompt has come up or something. But this one, I did pretty good. Next up, we have Sally Ann crafting her birthday starter. I'm working on that. Well, I cut off and on this week. Oops. I wanted to get to my photos so I can show you what it looks like. Owl Sun Moon is what it's called. If I can get the photo actually like ready, by Laser Art Designs. I gotta cover this part up because it's the pattern. So that is what it is going to look like. Of course, I thought it was a good idea to start right here in this like little like moon area, but it's like stitching white on white. I was like, why did I do that? So so when I picked this up, I had this little brown spot, and then I have just a couple stitches of like this like moon area. Well, I picked it up this time and I stitched all the way up here. I've almost completed the moon, but I was like, I cannot handle stitching any more white on white. I can't. So I then gridded it because I didn't have it gridded, came up here and started doing the blue of like the big background moon. So this is where I've gotten to so far. Yeah, this was a very sad start. This had less than 100 stitches on it when I first started it at the end of the end of December is when I started this, and it was like right when I was in the process of like starting a million things before the end of the year, and so it was really sad. So I'm gonna keep this out and continue working on this off and on this week, just to get a little stitch here, a little bit stitch there, and get a little bit more, because this is a beautiful pattern. I just need to stitch on it a little bit more. And then of course we have the little owl needle minder that matches the project from Project Stitchcraft. So there's that. And then we have a Ravenclaw needle minder that was gifted to me from Nikki, the thread maiden on Instagram. So yeah, here is this one. I'm so glad I moved up here because it makes me so much more happy. Like, it makes me happier. Jeez. It makes me happier to stitch blues rather than whites, because you can't even see what I've done. So there's that. Next up, so this next project of mine is a cell, and it's a very sad cell. So this is Trick or Treat by Garden or Cottage Garden Samplings. It's this right here. So I am stitching this with some stitching friends, and we've picked like each square is like a different month, so that way this would get done by this next Halloween. We started this last year, I believe. The problem is the border in each square is such a pain in the rear end, and I started it on a piece of fabric that I'm not a big fan of. So I've really been struggling to keep up with this one. I think I'm like 3 months behind, or almost 3 months behind. So I have the first square done, the second square done. I did change this one. I'm supposed to fill this in to be a pumpkin, and then this raven is also supposed to have like a filled in wing like this one, but I liked it being kind of like a yin yang effect. And then this looks like the little fire guy from Howl's Moving Castle, so I left it alone. Then I finally stitched this border and then started to stitch the inner one, and that square is the owl, this little owl down here. But once I got to here, I was like, I cannot stitch on this fabric anymore. It's driving me absolutely crazy, and I'm so far behind because I just dread getting this out and stitching on this fabric. This is a piece of like fabric that I got from Amazon that was supposed to be 18 count, but it ended up being 19 count, and it's just really hard to stitch. It's best stitched with one strand. I ended up using 2 strands. I didn't want to switch to one strand in the middle of the project because then it would look funny. And so there's just so many things with this project that I'm just like, I can't. So I paused this square, and now I'm gonna make 3 in a row, and I'm just gonna have 3 separate patterns, and I'll frame them separately but in the same frame to like put them all together as a decoration. So this first hanger will be these 3, and I've moved to the center to do these ones right here. So right now I'm currently working on this spider pumpkin. So for the second door, like doorbell hanger, I've moved to this piece of 16 count Aida that I've hand dyed like a purplish color. Well, purple-ish, it's dark pinkish purple. So just in a couple of days, I've stitched half the border. I'm trying to finish the border so I can get started on the middle. It's so much better to work on this than it is the other fabric. It's just the stitching the border in each square is just so time consuming. Trying to count out the like spiderwebbed area is really hard, and it's not on Pattern Keeper, it's only on my like easy PDF reader. So it's really challenging and mentally exhausting. It's hard. Anyway, so that's where I've gotten to so far, and I'm hoping that switching to this fabric will allow me to be able to catch up with everyone else. So yeah. But we're getting there. This is a tough piece for me, and it is very stitch heavy. You wouldn't think each of those squares would be like a lot of stitching, but it is a lot of stitching. And I just have this one stored in one of my little book sleeves with both of the fabrics. So there we go. Okay, so there's that. Next up, I had a finish. I had another finish. I'm on a roll and I'm so excited. So this finish is our Little Mermaid cell, and it's a soda stitch pattern. Let me find the picture for you all because there is some details that I've changed. Okay, so here is the pattern. As soon as there we go. So this pattern was a stitch along, or that this pattern we turned into a stitch along, and each like square, sometimes 2 squares, like the 2 corners would be like 1 month, but we split it up into a bunch of months and we all finished it. We meaning Abby, Sally, and myself, and we finished it. Yeah, all of us did. The only thing that I changed though is that this is supposed to be the Little Mermaid. And oops, sorry, it's changing the picture. This is supposed to be the Little Mermaid, and I didn't like that the main mermaid, which is supposed to be Ariel, has purple hair and a yellow tail and a pink bodice. And that's always bugged me about the pattern. So I knew I was going to change it, but it did take a little bit of like thinking to try and figure out how I was going to convert it to look like Ariel. So that being said, oh, and I also, I decided, well, on accident, I didn't stitch the clouds, backstitch the clouds right here. But now that I haven't done the clouds, I actually am glad I haven't done the clouds, because I think it takes away from the look of Ariel. Okay. That being said, here is the reveal of the Little Mermaid. Here she is. So that is the only thing that I changed about this pattern, is I didn't put in any clouds. I haven't washed it yet, and I have converted the main mermaid to look like Ariel. So we have about 4 colors in her hair. I've changed the boss to be purple, and I changed the tail to be green. I also used that like mulene, I believe it is, the like shiny metallic DMC, and I used dark green in there. So to give a little bit of shine when it's hanging on my daughter's wall, because she has claimed this. But yeah, I really like this pattern. When we first started this, I didn't think I would like it as much as I do. And it is very backstitch heavy, so there is that. Why is the light going crazy? There we go. It is backstitch heavy. It's also broken out on like 4 different pages, and so backstitching using those 4 different pages is kind of a pain in the rear end. Other than that, I absolutely love it. She turned out super good, and we are going to start Peter Pan July 1st, the same Sew to Stitch designer, and we're gonna do Peter Pan. And I'm gonna finish these into like a book when we get like all of the ones we want to do done. So this will stay unfinished for a while. Okay, next up we have another new start. So this is a Dragonfly. Is it called Dragonfly Quaker? Let me see. I'll pull up the PDF really fast. Yep, Dragonfly Quaker. Let me see if I can get the designer for you. This is, I wish some of the Etsy shops would put their like designer name on it. I don't have the designer with me, but here is the pattern, what it is going to look like. Super pretty. On the Etsy listing though, it shows up significantly more blue than green, but when I kitted it up, it turns out it's more green than blue. So here are all the different like colors, but I did add 2 colors because I wasn't happy with the lack of blue. So here are the original colors that it comes with. Lots of greens. And I've added these 2 colors right here to add a little bit more pop of blue. Then I decided I was going to stitch this on 22 count even weave over 1, and I hand dyed it like a bluish purple. So here, and of course my camera doesn't like to show purples and blues. It kind of is showing like correctly. But I just started this a couple of days ago, so I haven't gotten very far, but I've done most of the Dragonfly Quaker in the middle. He's almost done. I just gotta finish that bottom part of the wing, and then he is complete, and then it's got like the little Quaker around him, the little border. So super cute. I have Project Stitchcraft needle minder on there, And I love the way the dye turned out on this. I just love purple, blue, green. I love all those colors. So there is that. Okay, next up we have, let me put this away. I almost forgot to put the colors back in the container. Okay, next up we have Stitching Library. I don't remember if I showed you guys this one last time, so I'm gonna show it again just in case. I didn't get a chance to start the other project of this one because there's 2 libraries, but I did start this one. This is like the more turquoise one right here. And I wanted to see if the books would have enough detail. So that's where I have started. And I'm happy to report that so far I think they are. So here is what I have done right here. And holding it right here, I can see all of the little like books and everything. But now I want to stitch some of the background around it to see if those books really do pop. So that's what I've gotten done. Not a ton, but I did get it started. So we have probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 450 stitches on it so far. Pretty good start in my opinion, considering my starts normally have like 100. There is that. Okay, next up. Next up we have the Book of Psychic Reading. Let me get the designer name of this one. View PDF. This is by Amanda Elliott, Haunted Frames. So she has all different kinds of haunted frames, and I plan on getting all of them. I have a fair bit of them already. But I really want to get this one finished so I can start another haunted frame. And let me get the photo. Oh, scared the bejesus out of me. The wind blew my like glass like door. We have a wood door and a glass door, and I propped it open so it wouldn't wake up Teeny, and the wind blew it and I thought someone was coming in the house. Oh, I'm scared of ghosts. Oh, that's terrifying. Okay, now that I'm awake, let me see if I can get this picture for you. So here is the picture of the pattern. Super cute, but I'm not a huge pink fan when it comes to like stitching in general. I did want to leave a little bit of the pink vibe, so what I did is I got a piece of 14 count, I think this is, yeah, 14 count Aida, and I dyed it like a grayish pink color. And then I changed the colors to be purple and lavender. So that is what I have done. I converted it. I apparently am converting everything these days. I don't know. I'm getting really picky, I guess. But I am officially, let's see. What is my percentage on this? This is 61.87%. So yeah, it's looking so good. I had this done, and this last time I stitched around this part of the book, did these 2 pieces right here, and then finished this guy right here. I think this guy was already done. So yeah, I'm just working on the second part of the book, which is super cool. I want to get this one finished here in the next couple of months, so I'm working really hard to try and get it done. It is really nice and fun to stitch because it only has the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 colors, I think. So yeah, super cool. Okay, next up we have one I haven't stitched on it in a while. We have Bellatrix. So this is a Bella Filipina pattern that I have right here. And I haven't worked on her in a while because she's stitched on 28 count and she's stitched on over 2. She's also stitched 1 over 1 on her skin, which makes her extremely hard to stitch on, especially around the kids. And so I've been very intimidated by her. And then Mayari, that I'm stitching also by Bella Filipina, I've messed up on stitching her. I miscounted by like 1 stitch because it's stitched over 2, and so if you basically a half a stitch basically, and because of that I have to either rip out a lot of stitches or start her over on a different piece of fabric. So I have started her over on a different piece of fabric just to see if I would like her better, but I haven't gotten very far. So it makes me very nervous to work on Bellatrix because of that. But this is stitched on 28 count even weave. It's a piece of fabric that I've dyed myself. It's got like little spots of pink and really dark grayish purple basically. And this is my very first fancy lady that I had purchased and started. And last time I had stitched on her, I had all of this done. I had just done the eyeline of her dress, and I had like this much skin. I had this part of her hair completed, along with a little bit of wisps over here. I did a bunch more on her hair. And then I stitched all of her skin on her neck and like chest area. So that's what I've done this time, which of course that's 1 over 1 when I'm stitching over 2. So that took forever. That was a lot of stitches. So for every stitch you have 4 mini stitches basically. Yeah, I don't know if I will ever stitch another fancy lady with skin over 1 again. So I thought when I first got her, I was like, if I'm gonna take the time to stitch a fancy lady, I'm gonna do it right, and I'm going to make her fancy. I am going to make her skin smooth as butter. And yeah, that was a pain in the rear end. That was a terrible idea. So the next fancy lady I'm gonna do her skin over 2 or on 14 count and not even have to worry about counting. And then I'm gonna compare the 2 and see what I like better, because yeah, her skin is like super smooth looking and looks like actual skin, but it's a ginormous pain in the rear end. And I don't know if I want to do it again. So luckily I'm almost done with her skin. I just have her face to go, a little bit of her arms, and the rest of her leg, which her leg is almost done. It's like a little bit bent right here, and then like that's it of her leg. So yeah, let me see, where's the pattern go? Or the pattern picture. Yeah, so I have a little bit of bend right there in her knee, and then I have her arm and hand and her little hand right here in her face. So I'm about halfway done with her skin. But yeah, that was tough. But she does look really good. So I am pleased with how her skin looks. It's really tough to stitch on. So there we go. But super excited to have gotten so much work done on her. She definitely deserves it. She's really tough. I wish the Bella Filipina patterns would show up in Pattern Keeper. I think that would make everything 10 times easier, but they just don't. So, okay, next up we have or at least what I call my stitching lady. Excuse me. And this is a fairly old pattern that I started, I believe, Mania last year. No, not this last Mania, but the year before that. I think it's from Tinsel Stitch, and it's called Love Stitching. I'm gonna see if I can find Tinsel Cross Stitch. And let me see if I can get the mock-up for you. So this is a very large pattern. There it is. It's really hard to see because it's so large, but this is like the section that I'm working on right now. And this pattern is very unloved. Like, it has not gotten the attention it needs. So I'm stitching this on 18 count Aida, no, 14 count Aida actually, over 1, and this is what I've done. So last time I had worked on this, I had done the ABC all the way to I, and I had done all the way to here. This time I finished, or to right here, this time I finished the motif right here and started working on this right here. And still just haven't gotten my groove on this one. It definitely, I love the pattern and it needs to be stitched. It deserves to be stitched, but for some reason I just never want to stitch on it. So I don't know, but it is going to be very large. This is a very large piece of, this is like the whole thing. So yeah, definitely needs some love, but just doesn't have, it hasn't found its groove. Excuse me, sorry. All right, we have 2 more pieces to show. So I don't think I showed this last time either. So on every 29th, there is the leap year sal, where you work on a long dog sampler every 29th of the month. So that way, hopefully by next leap year, you'll have a finish. Of course, my long dog sampler is one of the larger ones. So that's probably not going to happen. And I have 2 long dog samplers. But this is Life After Death. And here is what it looks like. Lots of stitching, but I love that. I love this one. Yeah, I just love it. This one I am stitching on 18 count Aida, and I am using Sulky's, let's see, 12 weight blendables. Let me see if I can get this color 4038. It's like the woods. I think it's called woods. Super pretty. It reminds me of like an old English library, which is why I picked it. So here is where I've gotten to. So the last time I picked this up, I had just finished this flower right here. And so this time I finished the bat and started stitching this. I had gotten the counting wrong on here, so I had to rip out this whole like section right here, which isn't too bad, but the frog definitely did visit. The dang frog. But I did like seeing the bat come to life and the little heart down here, so definitely like it. I love all the long dog samplers. It's just for some reason sometimes I can't get into it. Like I'll stitch on it and I'm stitching it, but you don't, you know, when you start stitching on something and you find your groove and you just fly through it. I just, for some reason, sometimes just can't find my groove with them. I do some days and some days I don't. Okay, last but not least, I was working on my mom's Lighthouse. So here is this pattern. And I had this as my traveling pattern, meaning anytime I was running errands or in the school pickup line or anything, I would stitch on this, which is why this is so wrinkled and sad. So I've been stitching on this kind of off and on here and there for about 3 weeks. But I just brought it inside because it showed up as one of the prompts. And so I brought it inside to actually give it some major TLC. And so it's really paid off. Let me show you where I've gotten to. Here we go. So I've made it almost halfway across. Let's see, across is 173 stitches and I've made it to 80. So we're almost halfway across. And of course my light's dying. Come on, light, hold on a little longer. So here is where we have gotten to so far. I love how the lighthouse has turned out and I love the sky Actually, this is just turning out super good. Really enjoying it, although I am in confetti, just confetti vomit, basically. Right in here where this house is just all confetti. So that's been kind of a bummer, but it is looking really good. I'm now going to stitch a little bit. I'm gonna finish this section right here, and then I'm gonna come down, and I think I'm gonna come over here to like the ocean. I do have a little bit of stitching right there of the ocean. I'm gonna come over here and do this section and connect it to the corner. So it's gonna be like across the page, I think. I haven't stitched something like that before. I thought it'd be kind of cool, but this is where I've gotten to. So. And I think that's all the stitching that we have done. So yeah, it was a big one. But thank you all so much for joining me. I really appreciate every single one of you. If I forgot something or you have a question, leave me a comment down below. I'm happy to talk to every single one of you. And I hope you all stay safe, stay warm, and take care. Bye.